Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. Yes, it is Tuesday night, and we have a good show lined up for you. Give you a basic overview of what we're talking about. We're going to talk about some holiday NFL games, the Jacksonville Jaguars' temporary homes. Travis should have a little bit more insight on that. The highest NFL salaries, and, of course, Tom Brady reaching an agreement to buy ownership share in the Raiders. And, of course, Mel will provide us with them as well. I don't foresee parting shots tonight, and the only reason why I don't is coming up afterwards, we have 108 Stitches baseball talk. So our second night in a row, we've had a doubleheader, so we'll try to stick to basics. With that said, my co-host, Mel Farr. Welcome back, Mel.
Great to be back. What's up, Travis and Smoking Jeremy B?
Great night.
Great night.
All right, well, it's going to be a greater night. All right, we're going to talk about holiday football games. We're going to go to Thanksgiving first, Lions and the Packers. I'm glad to see that one. That's a game that should always be on Thanksgiving. Secondly, the Cowboys and the Commanders, 49ers and the Seahawks. All right, Jeremy, we're going to go right to left on this. Some thoughts about all one or all three of them?
All three of them, I am glad they are divisional matchups. It's about time. It's a game that's going to matter in divisional seeding.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about the Lions and the Packers. Boy, this matchup goes. In fact, both the Lions games against Packers are going to be on national TV. But Thanksgiving, come on. I mean, really. It's fun, too, because I have a rivalry with my wife, Candy, no matter when they play. But on Thanksgiving, somebody's going to be eating stuffing and somebody's going to have, a broiled turkey like I did many years ago. I'll get into that story another day when I took it to Kansas City. But, are there any matchups? And, obviously you being a Lions guy, how do you like the Lions and the Packers on Thanksgiving, Jeremy?
Seems how it's going to be the Jordan Love bakery that specializes in turnovers. It's going to be a great game.
That's pretty good. All right, we'll turn it over to Travis. I'm not going to let you come on the other two because you're not going to top that one anyway, so leave it alone. All right, Travis, what do you think about the matchups on Thanksgiving?
Well, it should be interesting. I mean, but it's the NFL. The NFL is king. We know this. So king of the ratings, king of the holidays, king of everything. If they're on TV, we're going to watch. And now you keep those two great fan bases and the tradition of having these games on these major holidays. Again, you got the Packers fan base, which has been rabid for pretty much my entire lifetime, has been a pretty solid fan base. They love their team. They own their team. And then you have the Lions fan base who finally have something worth watching. And that's not meant as a dig. I mean, I'm a Jaguars fan. We've been historically bad. I got you. You guys have a team worth watching. It was a great job by the NFL to keep those two fan bases playing each other in an important game. Well, hopefully it will be an important game, at that point in the season. Hopefully no one's fallen off the cliff already, looking at you, Green Bay. But we'll see how that goes. But as far as the other game, you stated that was the
Cowboys,
Washington
Commanders, 49ers, Seahawks.
Yep.
So you have a West Coast matchup. You have Cowboys, Commanders / Redskins. I remember Cowboys and Redskins when you had the old name. I still wish they didn't change it from the Redskins, but obviously they were forced to. But that'll be for another topic another night. But, I think the matchups are good. What do you think about the other ones, though, outside from the Lions pack?
The NFL is doing a really good job. That's what this tells me is the NFL knows who their audience is, but not only that, the NFL is smart and they're going back to how things used to be when it was more of a regional sport. But what I mean in that is it was never originally, it was never really this big national thing. It was, hey, this little area has this small conference, and then we eventually merge into this big, huge thing. Well, now they're like, hey, if we want the ratings, we're going to dominate the West Coast with this game, between the Seahawks and 49ers. We're going to dominate the East Coast with this game between the Cowboys and Washington. Again, you got that going. And we're going to dominate that Midwest area between having the Lions play the Packers. And if there's nothing else on TV, everybody else is going to watch because that's just the thing to do. It was really smart. They're bringing it more regional, which is what college football does all the time. We all know that. So, yeah, it was just a smart play all around. Good job, NFL schedulers.
Okay, Mel, let's talk about Thanksgiving. Then we have Black Friday and Christmas to go to.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could have done a better job, to be honest with you. If you look at the who the Lions are playing, you're playing the Packers. You don't have Aaron Rodgers there anymore. Better choice would have probably been Minnesota, but I know they play them later on during the year. 1 week, and then they get somebody else, and then the week after that, with they're going to play them twice in 3 weeks.
Right.
Cowboys and the Commanders is probably a better team for that day. I would think Philadelphia would probably have been a better scheduled game for that time slot than the Commanders, because we don't really know what the Commanders are going to be this year.
Right.
They don't have a quarterback, and that's an issue. I think the 49ers Seahawks, that's a great game. I mean, I think that's great scheduling. Both of them were in the playoffs last year. You got Geno Smith coming back with a year under his belt being a starting quarterback. We don't necessarily know who's going to be the starting quarterback in San Francisco, but we assume it's going to be probably Purdy, but I'm sure, Trey Lance, he's got something to say about that as well. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup. The thing that you like about it is that they are division opponents, because these games really matter later on in the season as far as playoff spots, wild card opportunities, and things of that nature. So you like to see those meaningful games late in the season where each team, is probably going to be, jockeying for position to get into the tournament.
All right, well, let's go to Black Friday. This is the first time they've had a Black Friday game, and the Miami Dolphins taking on the New York Jets. Tuatagovailoa against Aaron Rodgers. We'll see if one or both are healthy at that time of the year. But nevertheless, you still have the South Florida market against New York, and we've seen that a fair amount of time. So with that said, Mel, we'll go ahead and turn it over to you first on this one. Thoughts about the Dolphins and the Jets on Black Friday?
Yeah, you like that matchup. The Jets were a good team last year. Everybody thinks they were a quarterback away. And, the Miami played very, very well. It's just a matter of whether or not Tua is going to be standing upright at that particular time. Hopefully he is. I mean, I think he's got a new helmet. I think they've spent some time with him in the offseason, teaching him how to fall. And also, understanding that he doesn't always have to try to make the big play, that he can just, take what the defense gives him. He doesn't see it, let it go. Don't try to extend the plays and try to make something spectacular happen.
Okay, we'll turn it over to Travis. Go ahead. Thoughts about this matchup?
That's going to be an interesting one. To your point earlier, it's already in. To your point, it's the first time it's ever happened, and it's that South Florida market versus that New York market, and that's always just interesting. And to revert back to my original point from one segment ago, is again dominating that entire East Coast. They're trying to dominate that entire East Coast by having again a South Florida team versus the New York market. I mean, you got transplants, you got everything. And two good teams, or what's expected to be two reasonably good teams. That's a really good situation. That's really good job by the schedulers. And I believe that's also the first game that's going to be on. That's the first time it's a Friday game, but it's also going to be the one that's going to be on Amazon Prime. So they're just testing it all out. They really gave them a good game to try to open up this potential avenue of having more games on that platform on that day, at least I should say. So that's going to be an interesting one to see if they want to re-up that after this season.
Okay, Jeremy, take a crack at this one. Black Friday, Dolphins and Jets.
Dolphins and Jets. It should be a good matchup. We're talking about the best secondary versus one of the better front four in that division. So, because Miami's, if you go by Bucky Brooks' list that he put out today, his top 5 position group, number 1 offensive line, who was that? Oh, yeah, the Detroit Lions. Best secondary was the Miami Dolphins. Best defensive line overall is the Eagles. And then best wide receivers was the Bengals.
Okay. Yeah, so it should be a pretty good matchup all the way around. Yeah, I think so. I mean, why not? I mean, if you really want to play the weekend up to the max, you have Thursday, Friday, and of course Sunday. Of course, we all know that college football dominates the weekend anyway, so it doesn't matter. So I think it's pretty neatly done. All right, one last one here, and I've actually been to a Christmas Day game before. I like them. I think the NFL, I think, is kind of smart. Now they're going to compete against the NBA for Christmas, and I don't think that Adam Silver likes it, and I don't think Roger Goodell cares. But with that said, here are the matchups: Raiders versus the Kansas City Chiefs, Giants and the Eagles. Again, Ravens and the 49ers. Now, that's your only cross-country one. Giants and Eagles is East Coast, and Raiders and Chiefs, that's simply a rivalry. All right, I'm going to switch over to you this time, Jeremy.
Another great set of matchups. Like you said, you got one cross-country thing, which it's nice that San Francisco actually gets that game at home versus all the other times they have to cross the country or cross the pond because they got an overseas game this year. As a matter of fact, the San Francisco 49ers have the least day of rest of any team in the NFL this year. And that's going to play into huge on how well they're able to handle their schedule, especially with Brock Purdy possibly missing up till week 8 or later due to the surgery he had this offseason. And they've already named Trey Lance is not the starter. Sam Darnold is starting while Purdy is hurt.
Really, that's good to know. Okay. All right, Travis.
It's going to be interesting. And I only caught 2 of the games. Well, I should say I only caught the Giants. It's the Giants, Eagles, Raiders, Chiefs, San Francisco versus Ravens. All right. That's the one I missed. All right. That's interesting. Those are some good games. The Raiders and Chiefs always play each other well, and I'm a defensive guy, and I always enjoy watching those games because the Chiefs generally struggle against them, no matter how good or how bad that defense is for the Raiders. It always happens every time. So especially with that being a divisional game, I am excited to see that now, and we're not even in preseason yet. We got the Giants, Eagles, kind of to your point earlier, another regional item that should help them with ratings, depending on, I have to assume that's going to be one of the later games. And the San Fran versus Baltimore, if we expect Baltimore to be even just take a small step up, that's going to be a barn burner. And they're probably going to have that one later at night simply because it involves San Francisco. So again, they did a great job scheduling it overall, but more than that, for the true fans of the sport, like forget the people that's just watching the game because it's on the TV and they don't want to talk to their great uncle or whoever it is. But for the true football fans, you realistically might be glued to that TV that day. Like you might have to tell, hey family, we're gonna celebrate Christmas tomorrow. These are some good games, and
try telling that to your daughter.
Yeah, well, the one thing I'll say this before Mel goes on is with each of these holiday games, you got all the star quarterbacks. That's going to lead to one of our topics that I'll actually transition to in a moment anyhow, being obviously displayed in prime time on those particular holiday days. Mm-hmm. Okay, Mel, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did a pretty good job there. Would you have liked to seen another divisional game with the Ravens and the 49ers game? Yeah, possibly, but still, because all these games matter for seeding, I think it's a good game late in the season. Or really try to, you're really going to find out, what kind of football club you have at the end of the club. Especially, either team. Both of them play extremely good defense. The Raiders-Chiefs game, you expect the Raiders to be better this year. We're going to find out if that's going to be the case. They got the quarterback in there that McDaniel wants. We're going to see what kind of coach he is and see what happens with the Raiders this year. We know the Chiefs are who they are. They're going to be ready to go. The Giants and the Eagles, that's a very, very good game. Divisional opponents at the end of the year. Eagles are, they're the defending NFC champions. The Giants are trying to get there. And I think that, they just paid Daniel Jones a lot of money as their franchise quarterback. Obviously, we know that Jalen Hurts got paid as well. So that's a great game on Christmas Day. It falls on a Monday night. Nobody's working. Obviously, the NFL, they just said to hell with what the NBA is doing. We're the king of the hill, and we're going to put all our games out there, and we're going to push all our chips to the middle, and we're going to see what happens. Nobody really into the NBA that early in the season. At least I know I'm not. I don't really particularly care.
Well, you know what, Mel? I got news for you. Neither am I. I really think the NBA should actually, as far as I'm concerned, start towards Christmas anyways when they really showcase themselves. I don't know. I'll take it a step further.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but the Christmas Day game is okay when you have nothing else going on. But it's tough. It's tough to get my eyeballs that time of the year. I don't care who's playing.
Well, I struggle with basketball any time during Thanksgiving because college basketball, you play the cupcakes anyhow early. Although there are some times when there are meaningful games with a lot of the heavy hitters. And the NBA, nobody pays attention until they go out there and play on Christmas Day, and then the networks own it. But now, like you say, the NFL is getting a piece of that action. So
I don't start watching the NBA until after the All-Star break. I mean, there's too many games. Look where the Lakers started out 2-10, and they still made it to the conference finals. So earlier in the year doesn't really mean a whole lot. You gotta you just wait till after the All-Star break, and that's when things start. That's when guys start playing a little harder, and every possession matters. They stop turning the ball over so much, and they start trying to figure out, what kind of team they have. And
can I throw you a question in on that? On that, would you, if you had an option, if you had a preference, or like, let's say you were the commissioner of the basketball of the NBA, would you be a fan of shortening the season?
No.
Just wondering if you wanted more games to matter more.
No, I wouldn't be. I mean, I don't think you would be either. How are you going to pay the players? I mean, we understand. I mean, I think it's just something that you understand that the games, and they're trying to do something with a midseason tournament and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's going to work. I really don't understand how that's going to work. But no, I wouldn't be shorting the games because you got to have the revenue. You got to have the ticket revenue. You got to have the TV revenue.
Gotcha.
The only way you can have that ticket revenue and the TV revenue is you got to have those games.
Playing them more games. Gotcha. All right. Sorry to all my NFL fans. I know this is an NFL show.
It doesn't matter. I think that midseason tournament's a joke. The only thing the NBA's done right is had maybe the play-in tournament, but I'm not going to go any further than that. But you're entitled to get your question. Malak, Super Bowl or bust? Go ahead, Jeremy. What does this guy mean?
He is a Lions fan. That's from my page. He's watching on my YouTube channel. Come on over to the South Florida Tribune and subscribe there, Mark. You'll hear a lot of broad-based NFL news there, too.
Okay. All right, and Will Vogel, how you doing? Glad to have you back again. Good stuff. He's a regular out in these parts. All right, so we're going to go to the highest NFL salaries in 2023. We all know they're quarterbacks. And, of course, you can go out there and refer to them with the national TV games. Lamar Jackson, agent or no agent, which he didn't have. He looks smarter than them all now. $52 million. Jalen Hurts, $51 million. Aaron Rodgers, $50.3 million. Russell Wilson, $48.5 million, and Kyler Murray, $46.1. All right, Jeremy, give me your quick assessment, and because I want to get to other things too, of these NFL salaries, albeit the quarterback position.
The quarterback position is starting to be way overpaid because I'll give you a quick stat. The last quarterback since 2001 that wasn't on a rookie contract or Tom Brady on a less than market value contract to win a Super Bowl was Matt Stafford.
Right.
Years ago. Other than that, everybody's still been on their rookie contract, including
who you said?
Matt Stafford.
Oh, okay.
He was the only one not on a rookie contract and not on a less than market value contract at the time.
Okay. All right. Travis, give me your quick assessment on this.
It's the last CBA negotiations gone wild. I mean, that's really what it is. Like, everybody had this one general understanding of what would become, with free agents and quarterbacks after they stated, there's going to be a cap with the rookies, with the rookie contracts. And all that happened was, instead of it being the rookie contracts going wild, a la Matthew Stafford, that's pretty much the last time it would have happened. It's now it's just flipped. That exact money just flipped to the quarterbacks. And it's because there's not really a cap on that. It's just, hey, man, how much can we pay to be above average? Like, you don't even have to be the best of the best at this point. Like, the best guys are obviously. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Continue your thought.
No, sorry. No, but the best guys obviously will still be paid the most. But generally, it's just these numbers are getting a little bit obscene. Like, originally, I think the whole thought was that other free agents, those average to just above average guys will end up getting paid more. And we're not necessarily seeing that materialize, especially if you look at the running back position, you look at the tight end position in free agency right now. Like, it is truly depressed. The numbers are what they are, and it stinks for those other guys who don't play that, that pinnacle position, that quarterback position. But I mean, I can't say these guys don't deserve it. You are worth what the market pays you.
Okay. All right, Mel, give me your thoughts, and then I'll let everybody chime in on Will Vogel's comments. But go ahead, Will.
Yeah, these numbers could change tomorrow. I mean, there's still some guys out there that are expecting some contracts. Justin Herbert expecting one. I think. The kid in Cincinnati, he's expecting one. Joe Burrow. This is what the numbers are today. But there's going to have to be a market correction. You just can't tie up that kind of money in one position.
Right.
And you look at there's a serious drop off in the talent when you look at the backup quarterback on most teams' roster. There's a backup because you got to figure out, you got to save the money somewhere. The wide receivers getting paid too much money. And I don't understand why they pay these guys that much money to touch the ball 8-10 times a game. It doesn't make any sense. A running back's going to touch the ball 25 to 30 times a game, 20 to 30 times a game, and you want to pay him the least amount of money. What kind of sense does that make? He touches the ball the second most to the quarterback, and you want to pay him the least amount of money. That's just ridiculous. Okay, it's there's injuries that happen at that position. I get it, but that's why he should get paid. Just in case he does get hurt. He deserves that. I mean, they take a beating. All these running backs are having to fight for their money, and they're just giving the money away to these quarterbacks. And look, let's be honest. Not all these quarterbacks are worth the kind of money that they're commanding right now. There's some quarterbacks, $30 million is a good amount of money. Plus, when you do that, then you're able to have depth on your team. So I don't fault the CBA. That's not the CBA's fault. These are the owners' fault. They're the ones that control everything. They're the ones that allowed this to happen. They're the ones that allowed to happen.
Oh, we're in agreement. I don't blame the CBA. Sorry. They're paying the wide receivers $25 million, $30 million, paying a quarterback $50 million. They're the one that started all this, paying a cornerback, $20 million. The offensive linemen, they deserve to make some money. Now they got D linemen making money. If you're a guy that's going to sack the quarterback and protect the quarterback, you're starting to make some decent money, a lot more money than a running back. And they do everything. They're a wide receiver, they're a running back, they're offensive linemen. They do everything, but they're the least valued on the team, and they get paid the least amount of money other than the kicker.
You forgot one more thing, and they tackle on special teams.
And they're throwing down their special teams, exactly.
All right, let me just make
more than anybody.
I'll make one assessment here, then I'm going to go around the horn with Will's comments. These numbers are absurd, period. End of story. All right, so with that said, okay, Will Vogel's question, all of these guys are elite except Kyler Murray is overrated. Okay, let's go the short version. Yes or no to his comment, Jeremy?
Yes and no. Lamar Jackson is an elite athlete. He's not an elite quarterback. He is the best running back that can throw the football in the league.
So you're talking about you feel Kyler Murray's overrated?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
What did he do to garner $45 million a year?
I'm still trying to figure that one out.
I mean, he got paid, and then all of a sudden Deshaun Watson said, "Oh, I'll go to Cleveland because they're stupid enough to pay me like Kyler Murray."
That's true. That's true. All right, Mel, what are your thoughts? Is Kyler Murray overrated?
Winning used to matter. Now it doesn't. The guys just get paid. Okay, what's the guy's record? What's the guy's record? Kyler Murray does not have a very successful record. Now you can say, well, that's part coaching, that's part this. Well, if he was so great, guess what? They'd be winning more ball games. That was always my problem with Matthew Stafford when he came out of the University of Georgia, and he was the #1 overall draft pick, and they talk about he's this, he's that. Well, man, if he was so great, how come Georgia didn't win a national championship when he was there? Took little bitty Stetson Bennett to win 2 national championships. Something that Matthew Stafford, who's probably if somebody, probably 5 to 10 times more talented than Stetson Bennett, but he was unable to do it. He was unable to take Georgia to the promised land.
But meanwhile, they're teammates, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. But that being said, going back to that CBA comment, who got hurt the most by the rookie cap CBA? Sam Bradford, who decided to stay in school another year and let Matt Stafford go #1.
We talked about that. Sam was the last one. Yeah, Sam was the last one. Cam was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Sam was the last one to get paid. Cam was the first one not to get paid.
All right, Travis gets the last word on this.
Yeah, you guys Googled that one a few shows ago, however long, maybe a month ago.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know that all these guys are elite, to be clear. You have some guys who are absolutely above average or you maybe used to be elite, and there's some question marks that's out there. Obviously, you have the Russell Wilsons, you have frankly, Aaron Rodgers, to be real. That's still there's absolute questions there. Obviously, Kyler Murray is
not. There's no denying the talent.
Yeah, he's talented, and the whole question of whether he's elite, and he's a
made man. He won a Super Bowl, so he's a made man. Russell Wilson too. They're made men.
Yeah, they're made men by winning a Super Bowl. That is a fair point. That is a fair assessment. They're made men just like Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was a great quarterback, but you knew if he did not win that championship, even though his arm is broken and he was an old man, just, in a wheelchair, being dragged by his defense, winning that championship. Nobody thinks about that. Nobody remembers that. He's always going to be elite because he got that championship and he played at a high level. And you're right there.
So remember who steamrolled Peyton Manning on the first Super Bowl they went in there? That was Russell Wilson, right? Russell Wilson's been to 2 Super Bowls.
No, it's fair.
He's a made man.
Yeah, you're right. So Kyler Murray is not elite.
Wife, yeah, he's a made man. He's good. He's golden.
Right. But you have like 5 guys in that list of the top 8 that are absolutely elite or borderline conversation elite guys, and then there's just 2 guys who just don't belong.
There's really, to my opinion, there's really not that many elite quarterbacks right now. There really isn't.
5.
I wouldn't even say there's 5. I wouldn't
really
even say there's 5.
Aaron Rodgers.
That's a hard one.
You say who?
Aaron Rodgers, Pat Mahomes, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's been to 2 Super Bowls and won one. He's done
elite currently. Elite currently.
What have you done for me lately?
I don't
was he last year?
Considered.
All right. Wait. Let's keep on point here. Okay, I want to keep on point.
Go, Burrow.
Yeah, all right, Jeremy. We're going to stay on point, Jeremy. Okay, I want to make sure we have other topics. I want to make sure that Mel has an opportunity to mention a couple too. Yeah, I know. Go ahead and give me that Vananas Siktamola head. That's what they say in Greek anyways. Just kidding with you, Jeremy. But the question here over to Travis is one simple thing. Is Kyler Murray overrated, yes or no?
I don't think that's a hard conversation. That's an easy
it's a yes or no question.
Easy yes. Significantly.
Okay, good enough. Okay, Jeremy, you want to go ahead and get another word in now that everybody got to answer the Kyler Murray part?
No, he knocked it out of the park. He said it was an easy yes. That was a softball batting practice pitch right there in the middle of the zone. He knocked it.
There we go. All right, just want to make sure I'm fair to everybody. But again, the one thing I have to try to make sure that we understand here that, again, that's a high-paid position. I said that these numbers are absurd, and I think we all agree like Mel. You can't put so much money into one position. Otherwise, what do you have left?
I gave the keyest stat you needed on that.
What's that?
All the Super Bowl winners except for Matt Stafford since 2000 have been players on a rookie contract or Tom Brady on a less than market value. That's it.
Well, you're right. No questioning that. Let's face the reality. You know what? How many times during our draft coverage have we always said, you know what? 1 and 2 are great for TV ratings. Day 3 and undrafted free agents not only build you playoff teams, but they win you Super Bowls.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the rank and file did get a raise, if you think about it, in that new CBA, because they raised how much the lowest players in the league get paid, including practice squad players.
Right.
That's what that CBA was about. But the owners and the GMs have allowed these guys to filter it all to the top level talent. Period.
Right.
It doesn't matter whether it's wide receiver, tight end. Jerry Jones, he's the one that set the market value when he did that with Zeke.
Right.
That's why New York said, screw that. We're just going to go ahead and franchise tag Barkley and pay Daniel Jones. And the reason why is because if they didn't do that and they paid Barkley what they're worth that year, because they were kind of still a little cash strapped from everything that the last GM did to them, they wouldn't have been able to afford Barkley.
See, the whole idea behind the CBA was in the rookie salary cap was to be able to keep veterans around. To be able to pay the veterans. Well, what they're doing is just paying one guy more money, and they're still losing out on the veterans. And they're using draft picks on cheap salaries to fill out their rosters. So draft picks and free agents to fill out the rest of the roster, and the high priced veterans are still getting the whole heave ho.
So it sounds like you may be a guy who may be arguing to salary caps to individual positions or players.
Yes.
Would that be a fair assessment?
I haven't thought enough about that, to be honest with you, to give you an intelligent answer on that. Okay. I haven't thought enough about that.
Okay.
I don't want to cap anybody's ability to earn. I'm just saying that, this was something maybe they couldn't foresee happening.
Right.
That they still have the same problem. What they're trying to do is save veterans jobs by having the rookie salary cap. Still have the same problem because you're just paying fewer people more money, and you're utilizing the rest of the money you have on draft, with your draft picks and undrafted free agents, and that's how you're filling out your roster.
And the rest of those veterans are only getting shorter contracts and 1-year deals.
Veterans are getting 1-year deals minimum. Minimum, many deals.
Let's move on to the next topic. Tom Brady reaches an agreement to buy ownership stake in the Raiders. It's believed that Brady's 10-year, $375 million contract was unaffected by an investment in the Raiders. There's no dual role. We'll move this along quickly. Okay. What are your thoughts, Jeremy, about Tom Brady being with the Raiders? And we have one more topic that'll be right up Travis's alley. Go ahead.
Well, this makes sense for Tom because he can unretire and be the first owner player in the NFL if Pornstar goes down with an injury.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? That's a humorous one, and I like that. So I'm going to let you quit while you're ahead on this. All right, Mel. What are your thoughts?
Listen,
I like it. Jeremy, there's no doubt in my mind, pal. With us getting our own show, I can only imagine where your one-liners are going to go. But right now, while we don't have it yet, okay, they come in handy mightily. All right, Mel, what are your thoughts about Tom Brady getting a piece of the action over with the Raiders?
It's a great business move, and here's the thing: he's flush with cash, and what's getting better returns than probably the stock market? NFL franchises. You just look at what the Washington Commanders just sold for $6.05 billion. I think that Daniel Snyder paid, what was it, $800 million for it or something like that, $800 million for it when he bought the franchise. The Denver Broncos sold for over $4 billion. So where are you going to get the best return on your investment? Plus, like I said, he's flush with cash. The one thing I know about wealthy people, their cash does not sit in the bank. Okay, it's not going to sit in the bank. It's got to be making money. Plus, it's only insured up to a certain amount of money in the bank. In the market, you got $500,000 that is secured, of which $250,000 can be cash. The other can be, it can be 100 all securities, or it can be a combination of cash and securities. But the maximum cash that's going to be insured is $250,000. Well, where's the best place to stick his money? In a football team.
Right.
He can't go wrong with that. It's just like Jay-Z and Beyonce just bought a house out there in I think it was Malibu for $200 million cash. Why? They're flush with cash. They got cash coming out of all their orifices. They had to go put the cash somewhere. The best place for them to put the cash is in some California real estate, because guess what? It's safe. They don't have to worry about losing it. Banks are going belly up right now. So getting back to Tom Brady, it's a good business decision. He's flush with cash. He's got a big contract coming up with what was it, CBS, Fox, whoever it is that he's going to be doing TV with. Yeah. He's got cash coming. I mean, he doesn't even know what to do with it. It's like that movie where what movie was that? Where the guys trying to just put money in places. I think it was with
I know what you're talking about.
Going with Tom Cruise, and he can't put the money anywhere. He can't find a place. He's got so much cash. He's just flush with cash. That's how Tom Brady is.
Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and mention something first before we go over to Trav. Okay. The audio version of Inside the Pigskin can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. And for those of you that are watching on Jeremy's YouTube channel, please, we encourage you to do so as well. Okay. Now, I want to be a guest. Send topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com, or you can participate with us in the chat room as well. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941, or you can even reach out to me if you're on Twitter at Tribune South. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. So all of Jeremy's subscribers, please hit that red subscribe button, because we got a lot more announcements in the coming future. All right, Trav, you get last word on this, and then we're going to go to Jacksonville for a little bit, and then before I turn it over to Mel Farr. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I mean, Mel just made just slammed it home with a lot of the same items that I probably would have mentioned. I used to work in banking, so that's my area. But no, the unstable nature of the market, you having all that extra cash on hand, there's not really a place to put it. You're not going to put it into the stock market. You have to diversify. Even if you're putting it in the bank, you have to diversify how many banks you have. I mean, unless this guy's going to have 50,000 bank accounts at at 40,000 different banks. Hey, this is the best thing you can do. And there was always going to be a market for someone. If he ever states that he needs more money or whatever, there's always going to be a market that's going to allow you to get a loan out on an NFL franchise, or that's going to be willing to buy your stake in an NFL franchise, because they do nothing but appreciate. It's a great business deal. And more importantly, hey, recently divorced NFL player is going to spend a significant amount of time in Las Vegas. What can go wrong? Like, come on. This is absolutely the spot where he needs to be. Good deal on all levels.
The only thing that I'll add to it is he has I believe he's part owner of the Las Vegas Aces in the WNBA. So with Davis, so why not be able to get forces with Davis again? All right, one last topic before I turn over to Mel Farr, and this is one that hits Travis home very, very close. The Jacksonville Jaguars are going to need a temporary home because they're doing their renovation on TIAA Bank Field. This is a report I heard from the Tallahassee Democrats. So I'm going to break down the particulars. I'm going to let Travis go first and go around, and then after that, Mel's going to take over and provide a couple of questions to the crew as well. First of all, they're talking about 142 miles of Orlando's Camping World Stadium. That stadium currently sits at 60,219, but is expandable 65,194. So once again, 142 miles from Jacksonville. The next option would be 74.6 miles to Gainesville. We got Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, holds 88,548. 166 miles to Tallahassee's Doak Campbell Stadium, 79,560. And you have 12.5 miles to UNF Hodges and UNF Hodges Stadium, which holds all of 12,000. Okay, never been there. And or the other option that I could throw around there is they could add, if they need to on a temporary basis, 2 or 3 games in London, and they could get 90,000 over at Wembley Stadium. Now, as much as this may seem far-fetched, you may not like it, but the Jacksonville Jaguars needed those European games in the UK to stay afloat, is what they did. 2 or 3 games isn't going to make a bit of difference. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the crew, and then Travis gets the last word. Mel, okay, you're going to take over in a moment. I'm going to break it down to one simple question, Jeremy. Where should the Jaguars call their temporary home?
London. That's where Shere Khan's
from. For all the games?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Just 1 year, do it there. Make bank off of 90,000 seats in London that love American football while it's there. It's a great idea, really. They only play on Sundays. They can rotate the schedule out of Wembley Arena for whatever they got.
Yeah, but what happens if this goes into 2 years, though? Then what?
More bank for them.
Okay. All right, we'll leave it at that, Mel.
Now, you're saying 2 or 3 additional games on top of the 2 games that they're playing?
I think they should have 2 or 3 games in London. With the rest of them, you pick one of these stadiums that I just mentioned.
Because they got 2 games coming up this year. They're going to stay there for 2 weeks, right?
Well, yeah, but one of them is a road game over at one of the other stadium with another team hosting, is what it is. So I think they should go, if it's on a temporary basis, 2 or 3 in London. You have 5, and where would you go at the temporary site? That's a whole question.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you're right on. A couple games over there in London because they seem to like it over there. They have a little following over there. They've been having problems with obviously fans in the local Jacksonville area, but I think they should go to Orlando and play. Okay, fair enough. All right, well, Travis, give me your overview on this one.
Well, I'm a passionate Jaguars fan. So right now it's like I'm being cut just hearing people talking about us going to London for more games than these 2. I was mad about the 2 games already. So this is like just glass, chalkboard being scratched, all of it. Honestly, my personal opinion was always that they should have been playing in Daytona. Daytona's been begging for a football game. They had a game like back in 2014 with University of Tennessee playing there, and that's 100,000 person stadium in and of itself.
Where,
and
Daytona
500.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about at the Speedway.
I'm talking about the Speedway. Yes, yes. They had a University of Tennessee had a football game there.
This one falls into none of the above.
Yeah, they had a football game back in 2014 with University of Tennessee. It was 110,000 people there, and it was an incredible thing. And I'm like, it's a closer distance to Jacksonville. The And any of these places, the Camping World Stadium sucks. Nobody wants to. Nobody wants to. I'm an Orlando person. I would love for that to happen because that's no drive for me at all. But no, that would be terrible. And I feel like the University of Florida would be a very difficult, process to try to negotiate with a team that's moderately good. So that leaves us with, that pretty much leaves us with, UNF with 12,000 people, or again, one of your options of London. That just tastes terribly.
I love it.
It's a hard one to swallow as someone who really roots for my Duvalians and my Jacksonville people, not to have to lose games and everything else, and they finally have a great quarterback. To lose that to London, there's going to be riots. This is going to turn into Philly. That would be a real problem selling that one.
Well, you know what? I got news for you. Before you mentioned the Daytona International Speedway, I was on board with Camping World Stadium, but I still think they should still play 3 games in London at Wembley. But you know what? That's a new one for me. And I got news for you. I will promote this on social media that Travis Bacon thinks they ought to play it at the Daytona International Speedway. That one is something I never saw coming tonight. I'm going to leave it at that. Mel Farr takes over. What do you got, Mel?
Hey, Travis, yesterday we were talking, we lost the great Jim Brown, who was somebody that I have a tremendous amount of respect for as far as his football prowess and also his stance in civil rights. Mm-hmm. And, it gives you a time to reflect. You look at a bunch of articles, you look at a bunch of clips of the guy, you hear what people say about him. And I said, well, what pick was he in the draft? So I looked at the 19, whatever year it was, draft. And so he was the 6th pick overall in the draft. I said, okay, well, who went number 1? I'm looking at Paul Hornung, number 1. Okay, he's the golden boy. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. He was number 1. They had some other guys go, and then I said, well, let me look at where Jim Brown was when he retired as far as rushing is concerned. So I went to rushing leaders in 1967. I think that's when 66 is when he retired. I believe it was 65. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I looked at the rushing leader and said he has 12,000 yards. And so I'm looking for Paul Hornung. I'm like, where's he at? And I'm like, I think he was like number 26 on the list at the time he retired with 3,700 yards. I'm like, huh? And so, okay, well, maybe he was a receiver. Maybe he caught a lot of balls or something like that. He didn't catch a lot of balls. He had receiving yards. Let's see. I just had this pulled out. Receiving yardage, he had 1,480 yards receiving, 3,711 yards rushing, 50 touchdowns. Now, he did kick field goals. He was less than 50%. He was 47.1% kicking field goals, and he did some extra points. He was 97.9. He's pretty good at extra points. He made 190 out of 194. So my question to you is, I know Smoking Jeremy, he gave me his answer yesterday. My question to you is, how is Paul Hornung in the Hall of Fame?
Championship.
So, per my understanding, because I haven't watched much Paul Hornung, highlights on Twitter. Right.
The Golden Boy, you heard about him.
It's a joke.
Big giant, but you've never gone in and dug into his numbers, right?
Well, that's
the first Hall of Famer.
But that's always the difficult part when we're going back and looking and comparing our game now to those games being played in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, because those are obviously different times. Even with Jim Brown playing, that was closer to the 60s and 60s into the 70s, right? It was the 50s and the 60s. Okay, yeah. And you have Hornung who's playing in the 30s.
Same
to
time.
The
he 60s. Came out in the same draft.
Was it the same draft?
He played the same number of years, except he retired in 66. Jim Brown retired in 65. Paul Hornung retired in 66, but he was suspended that 1 year for gambling.
So that's an interesting one. Because it's weird because Jim Brown also made the all-decade team, but then so did Paul Hornung. So yes. I'm wondering, is it one of those situations where, again, if the players themselves are voting both of these guys as these epic talents in their generation against that same talent, you have to wonder, maybe it's more than the stats. Is it just the way that the guy's being used? Like, are they winning games, low-scoring games, and they're just using him to grind? I don't know what I don't know, and it's a weird thing to have to default to the players who play the game actively at that time, but they're telling us that this was one of the beasts among men, just like Jim Brown. And I kind of just have to lean with that, if that makes sense. And it's a sucky answer, and I'm sorry, but hey, the guys who play the game tell me that these are the guys who are the dominant forces in the game, and these are the guys who should be in the Hall of Fame. Then I kind of have to go with that.
Jeremy, you want to repeat your answer from yesterday?
It was the championships and the politics of that regime.
Of that time.
You know, because look at, even Mel Farr brought him up himself. His dad, former Lion, he only had 700 less yards with 2 less years in the league, which means by that standard, if you just go by the stats, Mel Farr should be in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
So he had the right look, and just being well known enough coming into the league that would do it, right?
That with the championships that he got with Bart Starr, right? It was Green Bay, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it is. The championships he got with Bart Starr, because he scored 2 touchdowns in one of those games. Oh my gosh, he's great. He was not
interesting.
Famous.
Scott, do you want to comment on that?
No, that's okay. I'd rather you just continue to move it along with everybody else with your other topic.
So I have one more topic. To talk about. And this is not with the NFL. This is with college football. There's a lot been said, particularly from ACC coaches, Pat Narduzzi, Jim Moore Jr. A lot has been said about what's going on in Colorado with Deion Sanders and what's been going on with the players. They've had 61 guys go into the portal. And he made it very clear to guys that he was going to cut players. With this new rule allowing players to go into the portal, first-year head coaches now have the opportunity to kind of get rid of players. Now, if the player still wants to go to school there, but he's cut from the football team, they still have to honor his scholarship. That's one of the things about the rules. But they have the opportunity where they can actually cut players. Now, a lot of the coaches, and you hear about it all the time, when you go to a particular program and you sign up for that job, you sign up for those players as well. Typically, that's how it is. No, you're going to have some, there are ways that you can force guys out. I mean, you can make a guy run gassers until he just coughs up everything. There are ways you can kind of show a guy that, hey, you know what? We really don't want you. But Deion has come out and flat out said, the beginning, when he first got hired, told him that, hey, a lot of you guys are going to be here. A lot of ACC coaches have a problem with that. Do you have a problem with what's going on over there at the University of Colorado, Travis?
Ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. I mean, that's really what it feels like. It just feels like complaining for the sake of complaining at this point. Because to be fair, to be clear, like I told you, 2 shows ago, that's what happened to me when I was at UCF, and that was before a transfer portal ever existed. Hey, if a new coach comes in, they bring their guys. They recruit their guys. They're going to bring in enough competition where you're not going to have a job in a year or 2 years, 3 years, anyways. The transfer portal only made it so that now the players can make the choice for themselves when they see the writings on the wall. I don't have to wait to feel that heat. I can see what's happening, or if I got injured or whatever the thing is, whatever the situation is. It's a story because Deion's been using it so heavily, sure, and nothing in an extreme is ever going to be comfortable. It's never going to be great. But at the end of the day, hey, this has been happening for decades, and the only difference was it was just the coaches that was controlled, that were controlling whether or not these players' future would be 2 years on scholarship versus a 1 year renewable scholarship over and over and over. So now the players have options. It sucks, but they have options, and at least there's that. It's just in the ballpark. The ball is in their court, and Deion's doing what he does, the same thing he did at Jackson State, and pretty much nobody complained.
All right, let me add something.
What do you think?
I want to add something to this, okay, Mel? I was actually reading a story that Pat Narduzzi, the guy at Pittsburgh, was really critical of the way Sanders was handling things. I don't have a problem trying to build up as much as you can through the portal, but there's a fine line that you can completely go out of control, and it goes against what the intention, I think, of what this whole process is all about. So, Pat Narduzzi at Pittsburgh was really on point there, and I can tell you right now, that, right now, Deion Sanders can do what he wants. He's 0-0. Well, let's find out a year from now when he has a record attached to his name and see how many good players he let go during the portal that are benefiting other programs.
Pat talked about that. There was probably some good players in there, but the rules allow him to do that. The rules allow him to do that. He has.
I know the rules. I know.
Now, I'm not talking about the transfer portal rules. I'm just, as a new coach coming into a program that was 2-11 the previous year, he said, "Hey, you guys." All he sees is 2-11, or whatever the record, 2-9, whatever the record was. That's all he sees.
Well, yeah, I know the rules allow him to do it, but let me point out a couple things in the chat room. Okay, Ken Ballreich, I saw the last Lions championship, so I've been a Lions fan for a couple of years. Ken, a little piece of information. Their last championship was on December 29th, 1957, 5 years, my birthday to the day. So I'll always remember when the Lions' last championship was, because it was on my birthday 5 years before I was hatched. Okay, and for a lot of you guys that want to go out there and understand that Mel's on here, Jeremy's people, go out there and subscribe, man. Jeremy and I got some big things coming up, so go ahead and continue on.
All right. You stole my thunder. When your team is 2-13 and you take that over and you're a successful coach, you don't keep shit. That's it. Gut them. Get them out of here. They were crap. That's it. If you're that bad, you keep the few that were good and you gut them.
Yeah, and they said they lost 61. That's not the whole team. Remember, these teams have like 90 players.
You get 85 scholarships. 85 scholarship players. So you lost a large portion, and not all of them left voluntarily. I mean, some of these guys were told, "Hey, I think I read it a couple of weeks ago. What Deion Sanders said for him, hey, son, you're 6'6", 300 some odd pounds. You're going to be a great football player. Just won't be at the University of Colorado."
Yeah, I respect it. We talked about that about a month ago. I respect that. But Scott, you earlier said that that goes against the intent of this rule, and I disagree 100%.
Okay,
it's not that I disagree with your overall thought process. I only disagree with the intent of the rule. The intent of the rule was to make sure colleges didn't have to pay money themselves. That's what they wanted. That's what the athletes wanted. They wanted actual money coming from the schools. And they gave them a carrot instead and said, "Oh, no, well, we can't do that. So what we will do is we'll allow you to make money on the side by other people paying you." The intent of the rule was to get us paid from you, the school. And they said, nah.
That is true.
This is the other thing that it was. They were getting sued over the name and image likeness stuff over the EA Sports College franchise that was played for years on the PlayStation.
That's why they stopped. That's why
the
they
old
stopped
players. Yeah.
They stopped it. The reason why the NIL was brought back in is so they can remake that and actually use the players' names, faces, and images on that game. Mm-hmm. But what I have read, what EA Sports is doing, is there will be a stipend for every single kid on that roster. It'll be put into an account, and it'll be given to them upon graduation or when they entered the NFL. And I think that's the way it should have been done ever since the beginning, because if you're putting their face on there, even though it didn't have their name, it just had their number and what school they played for back in the day, they should have been doing it back then. It's about time.
But you know what? There needs to be an education that goes along with it. I mean, a lot of people are not educated in money, don't really understand how money works.
Yeah.
Go out there and just blow this money. You could really set yourself up, to where when you get to be 55 years old, that you're just chilling. You're not doing anything. Yeah, go out there and work and do whatever you got to do. But when you work for 30 years, work hard, but you can put money away where once you put it in a Roth IRA, you get tax-free money coming in every single month for the rest of your life, or some sort of annuity or something of that nature. Maybe once you take it out of the IRA, you put it into annuity, whatever. But I mean, there's ways where these guys could really set themselves up, have an opportunity to really be ahead of the game when they're starting to look at retirement years. But anyway, Scott, enough with that. Back to you.
Okay, well, you got a ranting Q. Obviously loves your father. He's an old Lions fan since 1963. Well, you know what? I enjoy having his son on the show, and he's my co-host. So there. I will mention one other thing, okay? And then we will move on. Just, after Inside the Pigskin, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, we'll welcome Chase Blake, he's a loud Marlins fan. He's going to join Jordan Love, myself, and George Icorn as well. There's one thing I want to mention. I never watched a lot of movies, but the Junction Boys, to me, okay, with Bear Bryant, you want a tough guy there that'll beat you up during the off season, he will do it. So Deion Sanders, the only thing I'm going to say to you is it's all good while you're 0-0. Okay, let's revisit this a year from now.
You can't even do that to players now. They're going to transfer. They're going to go in the portal.
Well, that's true. So that's a good point. Well, all right. So let me elaborate on that before we call it a night here. Okay, if they're going to go in the portal because of his reputation, you wonder if that could be whether that could backfire for him down the road. So that's something we'll talk in a future broadcast. I know we have a lot of ammo on this later on, but that's a good point. It could backfire as well. So we'll see how this all plays out. I'll just leave it at this. I want to see what Colorado does after year one.
Deion Sanders is a big personality, big time. I mean, they're talking about the Pac-10 where they're going to have, do interviews like they do in the basketball game, or excuse me, the Pac-12. They're going to do interviews like they do in the basketball games because he's a big personality, because they know they have big personalities over there in the Pac-12 now with Chip Kelly before he leaves. Lincoln Riley's a big personality. And, of course, the biggest of them all is Deion Sanders. So they're going to be mic'd up. They're going to have an opportunity to go in the locker room and listen to him, get some, and talk to them in ways that they have not been able to do before. So they're using this Pac-12, unfortunately, to hang on. I don't know if they're going to be able to hang in there after this year, but we'll see what happens. But they're definitely going to take full advantage of it while they have it.
Well, Mel, you came up with some good topics. Obviously, they got things going in here as well as the chat room. So meanwhile, this concludes this edition of 108 Inside the Pigskin, thinking ahead. But that's okay. I'm in a baseball frame of mind. Who cares? Whatever. It's a ball regardless. I love doing that stuff. It's good stuff. So anyways, I'm going to go over my information really quickly. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I just wanted to say thank you to my fans that came in, and especially my biggest fan who helped form me to be the Lions fan that I am, my dad, Smoking Ken Ballrick there. That's my dad.
All right, Ken. Well, it's a pleasure meeting you. I'm glad that I have a guy that a lot of us old geezers can relate to, Ken. And you should be proud of your son, Ken. And I'll mention this now. Jeremy and I are going to start a show. We'll get into on our own. We'll get into more details as time gets closer to launch it. So your son has been great. He's been a student of the system, and we work well together. So if everybody can go out there and realize that I have a lot of great commentators on this platform, but Jeremy has moved up for the major reason he's a hard worker, but he's coachable. If he wasn't coachable, he wouldn't have lasted. And I'm glad that he is coachable and understanding he's becoming a full-fledged broadcaster. I'm proud of him. Just like Mel Farr has moved up in the system, and Travis, we're glad that you've joined us earlier in the year. With that said, okay, let's take care of company business. The audio version of Inside the Pigskin can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also like, comment, share the broadcast. And again, you can like and share it right on your screen, right, Jeremy? They can do that. Is that correct?
Well, it's on my channel. They have to physically go to the South Florida Tribune channel on YouTube and subscribe. I shared it so that they can watch it, because I figured we do enough NFL stuff, and it's NFL news, and we need to hear the stuff about other teams too.
Also want to be a guest? No problem. Send topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com, or simply do what everybody's doing, and that's sending their comments here. If I see enough of you guys are participating, don't be surprised if you're talking with us. Okay, so the chat room works. Also, if you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. And once again, you can also find me at Tribune South on Twitter. Our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Kudos to Candy Ebling, who does a marvelous job putting it all together. This is the point of the show where everybody gets to find out where they get a hold of you. You know what, Mel? We'll start off with my co-host, Mel Farr. Go ahead.
You can get a hold of me at Mel Farr Jr., just like it says there, at Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Also, follow what we have going on for the youth, usually in early spring in Detroit and also here in Atlanta at melfarr.org.
Okay, Travis, go ahead.
And yep, I am. You can find me on Twitter, at Trav Lights Bacon. don't judge me. I had eating issues earlier in my life. I'm finally losing some of this weight. You can find me at Trav Likes Bacon on Twitter. You can find me at Travis D. Holmes on Facebook and on Instagram. During the football season, like we're entering now, you can find me at A7BN Sports covering the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is where I'll be seeing Scott for all those Jaguar home games, and writing on BigCatCountry.com.
Okay, Smoking, take us home.
Well, you can find me on the South Florida Tribune website, southfloridatribune.com, under the Motor City Tribune heading, where I'll be listed with those authors, such as my publisher, Scott Morganroth here, and mentor. You can also find me with George Eichhorn. I'm listed there. You can also find all my writings about the Lions and the NFL. You can also find me on my channel, which is the Cat Bite and the Smoking Jeremy B, where I do my 2 shows a week in the off season and 5 shows a week during the season. And you can also find me on the South Florida Tribune whenever Scott needs me, and including when we start our new show. And you can also find me on Let's Talk Sports and Sideline Sports with my other new show, Jeremy Ulrich Show, where I get to interview former players, coaches, and all the likes of every type of sport. And Scott's going to be my co-host.
Very good. I told you, Jeremy's followers, you got to realize you're going to get a lot of Jeremy and I, Smoking and I, and our conversations are anything but boring. They're animated. Not that you wouldn't figure it out because I'm a little loud. So, but anyways, with that said, that concludes this edition of Inside the Pigskin. Okay. So coming up afterwards, we have 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. So on behalf of Smoking Jeremy B, Travis Holmes, and Mel Farr Jr., I want to thank you very much for joining us on this episode, and we'll be back with another episode soon. Good night, everybody, and flip on over to 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Bye now.